Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attacker Productions. Today I, Bancroft, and bring you all another deck profile. Not just any deck profile, but my take on Soul Striker, which for those of you familiar, this is an AOD version of it. This is actually the deck I took to Gencon as well, which I ended up placing 23rd with a 3-1-1 ratio. Of all the games, the one I lost to was a blue-yellow Gotinks deck, and got really hurt by that Zamasu counterplay, which stopped me from awakening early on. And from that point on, using the 3-drop slug to just stop me from drawing was probably the best play he could have done the entire event. The game I drew against, was another Soul Striker, but it was kind of more of the Bojack Soul Striker route. And we went straight to the end of time. And I believe I would have gotten the game if we went one more turn each, but depending on what his draws would have been, could have also varied the outcome as well. So, like I said, I went 3-1-1, placed 23rd. That's not bad at all. It's top 25%. I am happy about that for my first real event not taking prison. So, let's get into the deck, bro. Oh yeah, there's buttons down below. Feel free to click them. So, Soul Striker, if you're not familiar with it, backside, you swing, you choose either draw a card, restand energy. You can awaken when you have 4 or less life, or you have a unison that's blue with specific cost of 3 in play, is a draw to a leader. Once awakened, you now get to draw 1 card and switch 2 of your energy to active mode. So from here on out, you play cards, then you swing to play more cards. And at the end of your turn, you choose one of your blue unison cards, switch to active mode. Truth be told, I don't normally bother with that, mainly because it benefits me no way at all. My unison I'm playing is not the blocker one. I do, yes, play the 4-drop unison, which does have blocker, but it stands itself up naturally anyways. So, bottom auto is not really super important, unless you're playing, obviously, the Goku Black card. Like I said, this is the AOD deck, so this is 3 Bobbities, which barrier, you only have 1 in the board, so pretty much it's before Unique was a thing. And then the secondary, you treat all Agent Destruction cards in your hand as if they had no specific cost, and then the second permanent is reduce the energy cost of all Agent Destruction cards in your hand by 1. So it makes your plays a little bit cheaper, which is pretty nice. This is the card you want to see turn 1. I play 3 of these because I also play 4 of the Searcher. And the Searcher can bring it from the deck or from the drop just for 1 energy. If you were to play the Hatchak, which I've done a couple times, and people are like, what? Because apparently no one ever plays the Hatchak. But its auto is when unplayed, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost 4 or less, and you send it to the warp. Then you place up to 3 battle cards from your opponent's drop area to the bottom of your deck. So against like hand control and stuff like that, you put the root bands back there. If you were to go with get someone who relies on the draw apes, you put the draw apes back underneath as well. So it's pretty versatile, depends on how you want to use it. Or if you know you're playing against an opponent who likes Overwhelm, just constantly put the cards back in their bottom of their deck so that way you have less cards in their drop. Outside that is a 20k beater for 2 energy, which isn't bad at all. And typically this is a good way of getting past a Boony if a Boony's ever a problem for you, because a Boony cannot be KO'd as long as there's tokens, but this doesn't KO it, it sends it to the warp. So our super cheap AOD cards, 4 of the Turtleless, which is your Searcher, and keep in mind with Bobby on the board, it's only 1 energy cost. It is very unique, so you only have 1 on the board at a time. When this card swings, search top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 1 Agent Destruction in the card's name among them to your hand. So this can also pull that 4-drop unison I talked about earlier as well. And a cheap way to bring this guy out is using the Negate Garlic Jr. I do only play 3 of these because this is a primarily blue deck, so I have a lot of blue negates as well. But Garlic Jr. for 1 energy in your opponent's turn, as long as you have Bobby on the board, is a counterattack that plays itself, and then when this card is played, you choose up to one of your, you search your deck for an Agent Destruction card with energy cost of 2 other than this card, and you get to play it with skills negated. So if you were to turn 1, play Bobbity, swing with the leader to reset the energy, play Garlic Jr. to play the Turtleless, they're both just 15k beaters, but that's potentially 3 attacks on your opponent turn 1, which is pretty nice, but you will not get the search off the Turtleless by using the Garlic Jr. on turn 1. But keep that in mind, if you were to negate with the Garlic Jr., Turtleless is acceptable to particular autos that could KO it, because it no longer has barrier until obviously the end of the turn. One of my favorite cards to play, I only play 3 of in the main deck, is Broly. 2 energy, it can KO any card of energy cost 5 or less on your opponent's side of the board. And then you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, do not reveal it, and you put the rest in the drop area. So it allows you to kind of just pull cards you need You know, if you're in dire need of a particular card, you go look at 3 cards, like cool, this is more important for the situation. Unfortunately, a lot of times the other 2 may also be important, but it's a risk that you gotta take sometimes. But like I said, it will KO anything that's 5 or less, as long as it doesn't have barrier. And if you want to activate the main on this card, which is for 1 energy, you discard this card from your hand, add up to 1 card with Ancient Destruction in the card's name from your drop area to your hand. So, if Bobby's been taken care of, you can always activate main to pull the Hatchjack back to your hand, and then turn around, activate main with Hatchjack to bring the Bobby back. So just keep in mind of that as well. Bojack. So, this is a card I love to play against certain decks. When this card's in rest mode, I can pay 2 energy, choose my opponent's leader card, switches rest mode, and it can't be switched to active mode until the end of their turn. So playing this against a deck that likes to use the leader's effect on swings, they lose that ability. Establishing this early on against a Mecha board before they get all the Dragon Balls is amazing. Establishing this against another Soul Striker deck is amazing, so they don't get the draw or the restand 2. So it's just a great card overall. It is 2 energy to play, and when it plays, it does tap any card on your opponent's side of the field with barrier. So then you can turn around and swing into that problematic card if it is a problem. The 1-ofs, when it comes to the AOD package, 113, it is a 20k crit. That's why I kind of play it. But the active main is something that I don't use too often. That's why I reduce it to 1. But like I said, it is a 20k crit for 2 energy, which isn't bad at all. But if I did have the open energy, my opponent did have a problematic card. For 2 energy, I choose up to one of my opponent's battle cards, KO it, then my opponent has to choose 1 card in their hand and place it in the drop area. So, and last but not least, on the battle cards, Bojack. You don't get the auto for 1 energy, which is fine, because your leader is not a Bojack Brigade or Agent Destruction in its card name, but you still get the permanent. When this card's in rest mode, and your opponent's battle card's energy cost greater than or equal to their current energy cannot attack my leader card. When this card is KO, I draw 1 card. So as long as you pay 2 energy for this card, you swing. If you're playing against an opponent who plays very tall cards, they have to go into this first, and once it's KO, you get a free draw. So it gets 1 attack off your leader, and it gets you a draw off it, which is not bad. I play 2 of the Majin Buu Unisons because it's not the main card you use to awaken with, and it can be searched with the Turtles, so it's not as bad. Or, you know, potentially if I'm using the Broly top 3 search. If you're not familiar with the Unison, Double Strike blocker, so it helps protect yourself. Does not have any +1s to its effects, which is fine. The +0 is a draw, and at the beginning of your opponent's main phase, you restand this card, and you get to restand 1 of your energies. The -1 is during your opponent's turn when your opponent attacks with a battle card. You may choose 1 of their battle cards, place it at the bottom of the owner's deck, and then you're good to go from there. So it's kind of like it stops 2 attacks, which is pretty nice. The Unison you want to play early on, that in my opinion, is the Baby Unknown Parasite, which is an amazing card, especially for the ability of the -5. So first thing, it's a 15k beater for 3 energy, and then you get to Awaken, which is pretty nice. Draw 2 cards, swing bleeder, restand 2 energy. Cool. +2 is to draw 1 card. -5, if your leader card is mono blue, choose up to 1 of your leader cards, and it gets +15,000 power and double strike for the turn. And then until the start of your next turn, you can activate mono blue cards with counter skills from your hand by choosing 2 cards in your hand and discarding them instead of paying the energy cost. And whenever you do that -5, everyone's expecting the baby, which I do play 2 of. I used to play 1 of, but I found out that playing 2 is better because you want to see this card. I used to just do the -5, and my opponent would be like, "Oh, I wonder if he has it. I should play safe. Just play safe." But just in case they want to try it, having 2 is so much nicer because you can see it. It is a triple strike. It's a counter. It's a counter play. Counter play only works on 7 or less cards. The counter works on anything with counter. And the auto, when this card is played, you draw 1 card, and you choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. So it gets rid of a card as well. And keep in mind, if you're swinging to your opponent and they negate, say if you're swinging with the leader, that's a 30k double strike. And then you get to play this, which is a triple strike right afterwards. Since we're playing Unisons, good blue. Trunks, it bounces any card, pretty nice. For 1 energy, you could play the Heroic Prospect. Typically, for me, when you get to turn 3, your opponent's already playing cards to equivalent to their energy, which is fine. But because this deck is a deck that likes to go wide, I have no problem paying 1 energy for this card to go to the board and turn around and have a 15k beater afterwards. And if your opponent has played a deck that goes tall, it punishes them, because when this card is played, your opponent cannot attack with battle cards energy cost greater than their current energy for the turn unless they choose 2 cards in their hand and place it at the bottom of their deck in any order. More good blue. We got the Ebony. Deflect, it plays 3 tokens. Activate main, reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. If it's a battle card, you get 3 standby energies at the beginning of their main phase. And this card cannot be KO'd as long as you have active image tokens. And my tokens for this deck are Divine Guides from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I thought was pretty cool. More good blue. We got the super combos, which I chose since I'm going a mono blue energy route. Discipline Warrior. You bottom card, draw 2. Gotta have 4 or less. I have to have 4 or less life for that. 3 Senzu Beans. You pay 1, restand 2 energy. Choose one of your cards. It gets plus 5,000 power for the turn, which is pretty nice as a defensive measure. Or if you need to go offensive, I play 4 Dimension Magics. Just a good defense card. Pay 1, restand 2, or take a life if you have Sparking 5, and restand 2 and negates the attack. And then final defensive pressure. Obviously, since playing blue, you play Baby Hatchiyak, which is just the best blue negate there is. It stops your opponent from attacking from this point on, and it's pretty much free by choosing 1 card in your hand, discarding it. For extra pressure, we play 1 Hidden Power East Supreme Kai. Just giving a card double strike at the right time could be very powerful against your opponent. And 1 Fighting Against Fates, which is an Overwhelm card with dual attack 25,000. Not a bad option as well. Because this was the deck I took to Gencon, I want to go over my sideboard. I feel like that's kind of important as well. So, because earlier I've only showed I only play 3 Senzu Bean and 3 of the Godsling Trunks, I added 1 of each to my sideboard just in case I needed to see a 4th one of either one of these, depending on what my matchup was. For good blue, Bojack, the Evildoer, it is a great removal card. It does take 3 energy to do, but most times since your leader restands 2 in energy naturally, I typically would pass turn with 2 energy open. Then turn on, you can just combo, use the Senzu Bean, restand 2, in a combo, play it, pop a card, whatnot. So, and it's a dual attack 20k. 2 Chilled Army card. Sometimes your opponent will go after your unison instead of your own life, and sometimes you want to just protect that, or you even be allowed to use super combos when you want to. So if your life is 5 or less, use this as negate. And because I got fancy with my Obuni tokens, my token for this one is Diaboromon. I do have normal tokens, but I'd rather use Diaboromon. Another way of getting rid of problematic cards, 1 Max Power Kamehameha. It's a negate that recycles itself back to your hand, which is pretty nice. You can only use it once per turn though by doing that method. Or activate main, just get rid of a card that's creating your opponent's energy. 1 additional Hidden Power East Supreme Kai, just in case I know I need to go quick to my opponent's life. For certain matchups, Deborah, it did come in handy. Actually, I played against an OG Broly deck, so I did immediately sub into these cards. And from that point on, my opponent was just like, yeah, you got that. The only problem I had was dealing with Super 17, Turning the Tide. So I did add 2 Gerent. Didn't have to worry about that at all. But it was the only card I could think of, like, how can I play against this? Because typically your opponent would try to get rid of your Unison first before they would play it. Now, obviously, if they don't get rid of the Unison, you're good to go. Because I don't think that card has Deflect. Another card in case my opponent goes wide. 1 Mass Sand. Clears the board. And then for decks that like to play cards against you on your turn, Koitsuka. Activate main. You choose 2 cards in your hand, place the bottom of the deck, draw 2. And then if your opponent plays, if I'm correct, a battle card 20,000 power or less, they choose 2 cards from their hand sent to their warp. So, not bad. At least those were my options. But overall, that is my Soul Striker AOD deck. Hope you all enjoy. Keep in mind there's buttons down below. Feel free to click them. And on the screen as well. And like always, read your cards, know your plays, and fluff out.